In the days following the shocking fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the nation was gripped by a single name: Tyler Robinson, a 27-year-old warehouse worker from Phoenix, hastily labeled by authorities as the prime suspect. Within hours of the attack, a designation that ricocheted across media outlets, ignited social media fury, and all but convicted him in the court of public opinion before a single shred of due process could be tested. But as this investigation will demonstrate, the mountain of assumptions against Robinson was built on sand, stitched together by circumstantial evidence, misinterpreted digital footprints, and political pressure to deliver answers fast. While the actual trail of verifiable facts points away from Robinson and toward a far more complex and troubling narrative about how law enforcement, under stress and scrutiny, may have allowed tunnel vision to substitute for justice. The case against Robinson began with a single grainy CCTV still showing a man in a black hoodie walking near the venue 15 minutes before the shots rang out. A man investigators immediately linked to Robinson because of his height, build, and an alleged history of anti-Kirk posts on social media. Yet when our team cross-referenced the timestamp with Robinson's verified work records, GPS logs from his phone, and testimony from coworkers, it became clear that Robinson was still clocked in at the distribution center nearly 20 miles away at the time that hooded figure was caught on camera. And further review of surveillance video from the facility's parking lot proved his car didn't leave until 9:12 p.m., 40 minutes after Kirk had already been pronounced dead at the hospital. Still, officials leaned heavily on Robinson's supposed digital manifesto, citing screenshots of comments critical of Kirk that circulated online. But those posts, we discovered, originated not from Robinson's verified accounts, but from anonymous handles on fringe forums that were falsely attributed to him through what cybersecurity analysts describe as sloppy open-source triangulation, where amateur sleuths connected a username, TRobPhoenix88, to Robinson without hard evidence, a mistake amplified by viral tweets and later parroted in preliminary police briefs. Yet when forensic experts we consulted examined the IP addresses and metadata, the postings were traced back to a server farm in Eastern Europe, known for generating political disinformation, raising questions about whether Robinson was the victim of deliberate online impersonation designed to frame him. Equally shaky was the prosecution's claim that bullet casings found at the scene bore etchings of transgender and anti-fascist, slogans supposedly linked to Robinson's alleged ideology. But when our sources inside the forensics lab spoke on condition of anonymity, they revealed the markings were inconsistent, some etched crudely with different tools, suggesting a staged or planted narrative rather than authentic personalization by a lone gunman, and perhaps most damningly, ballistic testing showed no match between the casings and any firearm tied to Robinson, whose only registered weapon was a hunting rifle incompatible with the recovered ammunition. Adding another layer of doubt is the testimony of multiple eyewitnesses who reported seeing not one but two figures fleeing the scene, one described as a tall male in dark clothing, the other a shorter individual with distinctive tattoos on their neck, a description that aligns not with Robinson, but with a known associate of a radical collective that had previously clashed violently with conservative events. Yet curiously, this lead was never pursued with the same vigor as the Robinson narrative. A choice one retired detective we interviewed called Investigative Myopia Fueled by Political Expediency. And then there is the timeline. Our reconstruction shows that Robinson clocked out of work at 9:12 p.m., drove to a nearby gas station at 9:24 p.m., a transaction confirmed by card records and security footage, bought snacks and a soda, then drove directly to his sister's home where he was captured on her Ring doorbell camera at 9:46 p.m., laughing and carrying the gas station bag, a full hour after the crime had occurred, which, barring time travel, makes it physically impossible for him to have pulled the trigger. Legal experts we spoke with described the state's reliance on digital mood affiliation. That is, the conflation of someone's online criticisms with homicidal intent, as dangerous and unconstitutional, with one professor noting that Robinson's real, verifiable posts, while politically sharp, fell squarely within protected speech and contained no threats, no violent imagery, and no call to arms. Yet despite this, prosecutors painted him as a radicalized loner, a profile that crumbles under scrutiny when one considers Robinson's documented daily life. Steady employment, no criminal history, a close relationship with family, volunteer work at an animal shelter, and text exchanges on the night of the murder that were mundane to the point of banality, discussing groceries with his mother and weekend football plans with a friend. As for motive, authorities leaned on a supposed confrontation Robinson once had at a Turning Point rally, but when we tracked down attendees, none recalled any heated incident involving him, while one organizer even confirmed Robinson left quietly after handing out flyers on workers' rights. Hardly the behavior of a man plotting violence. So why, then, was Robinson thrust into the spotlight as the face of Kirk's alleged killer? Sources inside the investigation point to enormous political pressure. Within hours of the shooting, national outlets demanded answers, donors and allies of Kirk pressed for swift justice, and agencies scrambled to show progress. And in that crucible of urgency, Robinson, a young man who fit the broad cultural profile of antagonist in the polarized theater of American politics, became an easy scapegoat. But peeling back the layers reveals a darker possibility, one hinted at by whistleblowers in law enforcement who suggest the real shooters may have had connections too uncomfortable to expose, potentially linked to extremist networks with both leftist and right-wing infiltrations. Groups whose violent theatrics often benefit from chaos and martyrdom narratives, and pursuing them would have meant wading into politically volatile territory, whereas pinning the act on a single isolated suspect provided a quick, clean headline. Today, months later, the case against Robinson is unraveling in court as defense attorneys present the hard alibis, the ring camera footage, the forensics that exclude him, and the digital evidence of impersonation. And as we sift through hundreds of pages of discovery documents, what emerges is not the portrait of a killer, but of a man swept into a perfect storm of coincidence, bias, and institutional haste. Ultimately, whether Robinson walks free will depend on the courts, but from the vantage point of investigative journalism, the facts already prove beyond reasonable doubt that he is not the killer, and the real danger now lies in whether the justice system can admit its error and redirect its energy toward uncovering who truly orchestrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. For until that reckoning occurs, the public will be left with a dangerous illusion of closure and an innocent man's life hanging in the balance.